Hello, this is a check to see if hopefully things are working better. Let me see how we go here. Hello, this is the World According to Steph special edition, Foundations, part, chapter 27, part 2. I know it's confusing, isn't it? Oh well, most of my life has been confusing. And there's no question about that, okay? If I look better today, actually I am better. For some reason, I guess my prayers and my meditation are working. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm okay by any means. I'm not. But I'm dealing with the pain, and my doctor is quite happy with the progress that I'm making, and we're praying that all will be okay by the time I end up going on a special deal for my daughter. Sometimes we need to give ourselves gifts, and we especially need to give our children gifts. And, there was a time when I wasn't able to give my children such elaborate gifts. This is a very much more elaborate gift, and but it's worth it. And the way I feel about it is that, as I've said before, God provides our needs. And as we are going to continue to learn, God does provide those needs. I posted a lot of stuff on Google today. And, well, not a lot. Actually, only two things. But I went back in and updated a blog that I had written. And it's about our democracy in the United States. And I do hope people will read it and share it because on the political spectrum, I feel it is very important. Some people may not agree with it. You're entitled to your beliefs. I've always said that whenever we write anything, we make sure that we say, I believe or I feel, because that way it is ours and ours alone. It doesn't belong to anybody else. See? So, does that make some sense to everybody? And that goes for a video, and that goes for anything in life. I like to say, well, I feel a lot because, you may not feel the same way, but however you feel is okay. That is your business, not mine. Now, the only thing I am concerned about in this life right now is the well-being of my family, the well-being of my friends, the well-being of my country. That is what I'm very highly concerned about. And also my relationship with God. That, of course, comes first, no matter what. So, let me continue with the spiritual foundations from yesterday. And let me say to you that whether you believe me or not matters not. As one of my watchers said, he would file it for, another day or something. I don't know, something to that effect. Whatever, at least he watched it. He made some comments about the sound, and I hope now that I've gotten the sound straightened out. Yesterday, I did not have time to do much of anything. Today, I've got plenty of time. Oh, and by the way, where I'm at right now, it's very warm out, so summertime. Actually, it's not summertime. It's a little cooler down here than it normally is. Coffee. Okay. Now, yesterday I was talking and reading about Emmet Fox, and this is a special deal. It's not the Bible, okay, but it is part of the Bible. And whether you're a Christian or not matters not. It's what Emmet is going to say that we need to, I promote that you listen to. Emmet Fox has been one of my greatest teachers, even though he passed away even before I was born. Yes, amazing. As I read this stuff from Emmet, his writings, it is surprising to learn that he lived a generation before I did. Just like Edgar Casey, if you are an Edgar Casey person, I was when I was only 15 years old. And that is in my little book that I'm writing, although it's not so little anymore. At any rate, I would like to continue with what we can do to keep ourselves out of fear and keep ourselves in a good place emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. All three places. And by doing that on the material plane, we will be in a wonderful place. I promise you. Look at me today. I'll bet you didn't expect this, huh? And neither did I, actually. I have no expectations. I cannot maintain my life that way, just as anybody else cannot. Okay, now, where I left off, I'm right where I did leave off, as a matter of fact. So, if you're keeping up with me, let me continue on our journey here. And sometimes these old books are really a problem. Oopsie. Let's go back. Alright, give me a moment. I messed up. I believe I jumped way ahead. Yes, I did. Okay, so let's get back to where we go. Yep, Steph messed up. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, well, I think I have an easier way to do that. There we go. Now, here we go. Now, it is not obvious that if only people realize all this is being literally true, it would have the profoundest influence on the conduct. Now, what am I talking about? I am talking about with what measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again. Now, that's part of Sermon on the Mount by the Jesus the Christ. Okay? Now, the Christ means the anointed one. For those, that's why I call Jesus the Christ. Okay? Because he is the anointed one. Now, it's not his last name, so that's the purpose for doing so. At any rate, he says that would not such an understanding do more in practice to decrease crime and raise the general moral standard of the community than all the laws ever passed by parliaments? Oh, by the way, Emmet is from the UK. Originally, he was from there. And he came to the United States and did a lecture series, and he really liked it here. So, from what I understand of Emmet's life, I believe he spent a good portion, a lot of his later life over here in the United States. So, at any rate, he talks about parliaments a lot because that was his world. Or all the formal punishments meted out by judges and magistrates. See, here we go again, magistrates. People are very apt to think, especially when they are strongly tempted, that they can probably escape the law of the land, outrun the constable, there we go again, or slip through the clutches of authority in some other way. They hope that individuals will forgive them, or else be powerless to revenge their actions, or that the thing will be forgotten sometime. Or, better still, that they will never be found out at all. If, however, they understood that the law of retribution, this is a law of life, okay? I'm giving you laws of life. The judgment is a law of life. This, what we mete out, returns to us, that is a law, the law of retribution. Okay? And if they understand that the law of retribution is a cosmic law, cosmic, how about that? Huh? Impersonal and unchanging as the law of gravity. Okay? Neither considering persons nor respecting institutions, without rancor but without pity. They would think twice before they treated other people unjustly. The law of gravity never sleeps, is never off duty or off its guard, is never tired out, is neither compassionate nor vindictive, and no one would ever dream of trying to evade it, or coax it, or bribe it, or intimidate it. People accept it as being inevitable and inescapable, and they shape their conduct accordingly. In the law of retribution, it is even as the law of gravity. Water finds its own level sooner or later. Our treatment of others returns at last upon ourselves. Trust me, I know. I've been there, I've done it, and maybe it's not even all done yet for me. And that I will go into that some other time about my life and some of my experiences with this in particular. Now, some Christian people, upon hearing the law of retribution, and this applies to anybody, by the way, I think he's going to say that right now. The law of retribution explained. Some have objected that this is Buddhism or Hinduism and not Christianity. Now, it is perfectly true that this law is taught by the Buddhists and by the Hinduists, and wisely so, and I would think by the Islamics too, because it is a law of nature. The law of nature. It is also true that the law is better understood in Oriental countries, and that's still true a good part of today. Because, well, we won't get into the because yet, okay? But trust me on that. I do believe it is much widely understood there at this point. But we're slowly but surely bringing it over here. Now, but this does not make it an Oriental possession. It simply means that the unorthodox Christian churches have largely neglected to make an important section of the Christian teaching clear to the people. Now, I'm going to honestly say that I've been to a lot of different churches over the last 19 years almost. And I truly believe that a lot of the Christian churches are becoming more enlightened, shall we say. I believe that they are teaching this to a new generation. And I'm really, there are some churches that I will say that I've been very impressed with. And I'm not a church person, and I never will be. As I've said before, I am of God. And that's it. Okay? Now, if my problems would allow me to, I would find it some kind of church to go and meet more people and to, have more of a social life that way. I promise you I would. But at the moment, I just can't. Now, well, I choose not to. Let's put it that way. Okay, now, to those who say that it is unchristian, and I can't even imagine anybody saying that, I reply with a question. Is the Gospel of Matthew a Christian document or not? Was Jesus Christ a Christian or a Buddhist? That's a good question too, by the way. You may like or dislike the doctrine, if you wish, You may try to ignore it, but you cannot deny that Jesus Christ taught it. And in the most direct and emphatic way, when he said, "Judge not, that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again." A beautiful description of the law has been written for English-speaking people by Sir Edwin Arnold in the song Celestial. I'd like to read this. It's very beautiful. "It will not be contemned of anyone who thwarts it, loses, and who serves it gains. The hidden good it pays with peace and bliss, the hidden ill with pains. By this the slayer's knife did stab himself, the unjust judge hath lost his own defender, the false tongue doom its lie, the creeping thief and spoiler rob to render. It seeth everywhere, and marketh all. Do right, it recompensing. Do one wrong, the equal retribution must be made. Though Dharma tarry long." Now we see that we had better not do to anyone else anything that we do not wish to have done to us, because that is what will happen. Particularly is this the case if we act badly towards someone who is in our power. And we're talking about a workforce even, or even more than that, a political force, okay? But it is a poor law that does not work both ways. Now we get into law. And so it is equally true that for every good deed that you do, for every kind word that you speak, you will in some way, in the same way, at some time or other, get back an equivalent. People often complain of ingratitude on the part of those whom they have conferred favors, and too often with truth, but this complaint shows a false attitude of mind, which it is very important to correct. When you feel hurt because someone has been ungrateful for your kindness, it shows that you have been looking for gratitude. And this is a great mistake. The true reason for helping another is that it is our duty to help others, insofar as we can do so wisely, or because it is an expression of love. Love. Of course, love will not look for a quid pro quo, and to have done one's, excuse my reading of that. I'm not very good at Latin. I'm assuming that's what he was saying. I'm sorry, forgive me. And to have done one's duty should be its own reward. Remembering, if we wish, that in some way, in some other way, the deed will surely be recognized. The very fact that one is looking for gratitude means that he is putting the other person under a sense of obligation. This is extremely important and should be well listened to. Extremely important. And that person will probably get this subconsciously and resent it strongly, as such a thing is highly repugnant to human nature. Do your good deed and then pass on, neither expecting nor wishing for personal recognition. Is it not a beautiful and encouraging thought that all the prayers you have ever said in your life, and all the good deeds and kind words for which you have ever been responsible, are still with you, and that nothing can ever take them away? Nothing. Indeed, our prayers and our words and acts of kindness to others are the only things that we do keep for all all the rest must disappear. Errors of thought, word, and deed are worked out and satisfied forever. Sorry about that. I must disconnect something before I do some of this. Students of Christianity who understand the power of thought will realize that it is here in the realm of thought that the law finds its true application. And they will see that the one thing that matters, the one thing that matters in the last resort is to keep their thoughts right about other people. Their thoughts, not even their words here, their thoughts, even as about themselves. Now that's an important part that I have talked to people regularly about. The fact that we must keep everything about ourselves loving too. This is not just about other people, this is about us also. If we do not feel good about ourselves, how can we possibly extend our love to another? Okay. Ask yourself that, because I do every day. I must feel good about myself, spiritually and emotionally, and even physically. I must give myself good thoughts and good feelings to be good to you. Okay, so the right thought about God, and the right thought about fellow man, and the right thought about oneself, that is the law and the prophets. Knowing that dominion, by the way, that is in caps, dominion, is located in the secret place. Now that is caps also. We are going to talk about that secret place. That'll be coming up, I promise you. It is on the secret place that they will focus their attention in observing the commandment, judge not. Okay, doing good. Just checking the time. I don't want this to go too long. The golden rule in Christianity is this, and it's in everything, Buddhism, Islamic, any Hinduism, it's in every type of religion, trust me on this. Think about others as you would wish them to think about you. Simple rule. And for a long time I had to say that rule to myself at all times. Driving in my car, I would have to say that rule on my way to work to remind myself that, okay, I must have the right way of thinking as I go into this place that I do business with, and that I must be respectful of all others. There were times when I was accused of not being respectful, and they were absolutely right. And here's the real problem. I wasn't even aware of it. I was never even aware of it. It was a lack of awareness on my own part. And by the grace of God, that's how I like to put it, I was given that awareness. So that now I am aware when I am not thinking good of others. Even those that try to hurt us, as I discussed in part 1. In the light of the knowledge that we now possess, the observance of this rule becomes a very solemn duty. You have a duty. You really do. It's up to you to grab hold of that duty, but I pray that you do. Well, I pray for guidance and direction. I can never actually pray for any specific thing. Not ever. So, just to clarify that, I just want to make it understood. That is not the way that I've been taught to pray in the last 19 years. Totally different way. I'm going to get into that later at some point. Right now, we've got to get through this other stuff. Got to be prepared for the future. And I've never really felt that way before, but right now I do. Okay, now, he says that a debt of honor is an obligation that cannot be enforced at law, but depends for its discharge upon the honor and self-respect of the debtor. And in like manner, since no one can know or prove how we are thinking, I couldn't possibly know how anybody else is thinking. Can't read minds. Nor would I want to. But we are not responsible for our thoughts to any tribunal. Now, listen carefully on this. We are not responsible for our thoughts to any tribunal, but the highest one of all, the tribunal that never makes mistakes and whose decisions are never evaded. I think we can kind of figure that one out. The student, having now gained an understanding of what the great law is and how it works, as it's so wonderfully summed up by Jesus in this section, is in a position to take the next great step and understand how it is possible to rise above even the great law itself in the name of the Christ. And by the way, the Christ is all in caps. And it is possible to rise above the great law itself in the name of is italicized. And I'm going to tell you right now, that is big stuff. Okay? Big for Emmet. When he does that, pay attention. So we should rise above that even. Do not limit ourselves. No limitations here. In the Bible, the term Christ is not identical with Jesus, the individual. Here we go. We're going to talk about this. All right? It is a technical term, which may be briefly defined as the absolute spiritual truth about anything. Now, to know this truth, which is capitalized, about any person or condition or circumstance, immediately heals that person or condition or circumstance. To the extent that such truth is realized by the thinker. So we're going to talk about that in a second. This is the essence of spiritual healing. Spiritual healing. Okay? And thus we see that in the widest sense and altogether independently of the special and unparalleled work that was done for us by Jesus himself, it is true that the Christ comes into the world to redeem it and save it. Whenever the Christ, that is the true idea concerning anything, is raised up and fought by anyone, healing follows. Physical healing or moral healing, or even intellectual healing, as the case may be, whatever your requirements are at whatever time. We're going to go into that a little in depth later. Intellectual healing would be to make a dull or stupid person bright and intelligent. Backward school children respond like magic to such treatment. I'm going to talk about that at some point too. One should claim divine intelligence. Remember this way. Divine intelligence. for them and realize that God is the soul of man. Sickness and sin, poverty and confusion, weakness of character, all disappear under the power of the healing Christ. It makes no difference how deeply seated may be the trouble. The realization by somebody of the Christ or the spiritual truth behind the appearance will heal it. There is no exception whatever to this, because the Christ is nothing less than the direct action of God Himself, the self-knowing of spirit. It overrides all else. Now, Emmet says himself, and of course caps that about God. But if you read a few other books by Emmet, you'll find that Emmet talks about the him and her and all that. Okay? Right now, Emmet is just focusing on the law, the great laws. Okay? And that is what we need to focus on at the moment. Do not be concerned about what we have discussed in the past, himself, herself, and all that kind of stuff. Please. Because Emmet himself did not really focus on the him, her, and all that stuff. The higher law of spirit overrides or supersedes all the lower laws of the physical and mental planes. This, as we saw in the first chapter, does not mean that the laws of the physical or mental planes are broken. It means that man, because of his essential divine selfhood, has the power of rising above these domains into the infinite dimension of spirit, where such laws no longer affect him. He has not broken their laws, but has adventured beyond them. A very inadequate simile may be cited in the case of the balloon, which rushes away from the ground seemingly in defiance of the law of gravity as soon as the bag is inflated. Here it seems as if the law of gravity were broken. But of course it is not broken, but rather completely fulfilled by such action. Yet the normal experience of ordinary life actually is reversed. Now the law of karma, which is no respecter of persons and forgets nothing, is actually law for matter and mind only. It is not law for spirit. In spirit, all is perfect and eternal, unchanneling good. Here there is no bad karma to be reaped, because none can be sown. And thus when man, by what we call prayer, just making sure we're still okay, by what we call prayer, meditation, or treatment, transfers his attention to the domain of spirit, he comes to that extent under the law of the perfect good, and karma is wiped out. Okay. Now, I'm going to read this last paragraph and then we're going to stop there for now. So man has a choice of karma or Christ. Okay? This is the best news that has ever come to mankind. And for that reason, it is called the good news. And the glad tidings, or the gospel, for such is the meaning of this word. This is man's charter of freedom, his dominion over all things as the image, which is caps, and likeness, which is in caps, of God. He has his choice. He can remain in the limited region of matter and mind, in which case he is bound fast on the wheel of karma, or he can appeal through prayer to the realm of spirit, and that realm of spirit is all caps, by the way. That is the Christ, and be free. but he has the choice. Remember, we all have a choice in everything. Christ or karma. And Christ is, now this is in caps, complete, total caps. Christ is Lord of karma. Okay? Christ is Lord of karma. Now, I'm not going to read any further. I'm going to mark the place. Because it does go on about the message here. And some of you may not understand some of what I've been talking about, but like I said, this is a sequence that we're doing. Okay? It's a sequence of teaching, so to speak, through the voice of Emmet Fox. And these are not my words, these are his words, but I'm bringing them to you for a good reason, because it's a very enlightening viewpoint of something that was given to us over 2,000 years ago, that we believe is given to us over 2,000 years ago. And every religion, I believe, recognizes that the existence of either a prophet or the Son of God, of Jesus Christ. Every religion that I know of, okay? Now, I'm sure there's some out there that don't, but I don't really want to get into any kind of disagreement with people. So remember, these are Emmet Fox's words. These are not necessarily my words, but I don't disagree with Emmet Fox in many, many ways. And I will be discussing some of that further on in our series, okay? Well, I love you all. This was part 2, and I'm going to stop for now. Thank you, and I will be seeing you soon.